much is what needed. Now, here's one thing, as I say, you can't fake insight, as you heard all the other lifers here say. Now, the only way you really get your true insight is a change of your heart. You've got to change at a core level. Now, the only way I was able to change at a core level was, I'm Christian now, but I ran from God for a lot of years.
Amen.
I did the prayers, God, get me out of prison, I won't do drugs anymore. Because we all know, so finally in 2007, you know what, I hit my bottom. Now, one thing that differs from a lot of that, I became a Christian in prison and started going to church in 2001. Now, I used to get ridiculed for going to church by the homies, which I'll tell you. You know, on the level 4s, I was one of the lucky ones. I got paroled off a level 4 yard. You know, and it's, so, you know, I started doing my walk, and when my insight came was, for the first time in my life, when I broke down all my emotions, I broke down what made me do this, what caused me to do that. I took the life crime out of it, I took everything out of it but the base emotion. Okay, what was this emotion I was feeling? When did I first feel this emotion? How did I get the message that I was getting from this emotion? That's the way I chose my insight. And what I found was it pretty much all wrapped up in my childhood, traumatic experiences. What I found was, when I was young, I had learning disabilities. I wasn't allowed to graduate kindergarten because I was dyslexic, so I had to go to transition, which is an in-between person. So I got ridiculed by my classmates and guys that stupid. I was picked on, bullied. I never fought back. You know, I was more or less, or I'd make a big plan in my head to get you back, but you know what, I never did. So what I did was, at a young age, with all that traumatic experience, and the message I got was that I was a defective human being. You know, so I shouldn't even be here. You know, I'm a waste of human life. This is going back, looking within myself on it. This is like 6, 7, 8 years old. This is the message I got. I found this out years later when I looked at it. This is what we're talking about, the change of heart and true insight. I looked at the nastiest part of that, and that is a really messed up message for an 8-year-old kid to think that he doesn't matter. And I carried that straight up into my adolescence. You know, I was kind of an accidental alcoholic. You know, my dad would come home from work, and him and his friends would be drinking beer in the front door. He'd leave me a little sip, and hey, go ahead and kill it. So I killed that. Then his friend, here, well, you want to kill mine? Well, pretty soon, here's an 11-year-old insecure kid that doesn't feel like he matters. Suddenly, I got 4 little sips of beer in me. I'm like, hey, what's this warm fuzzy feeling right there? I'm not feeling so different now. So that's why I pretty much said I chose to drink, but I was kind of like an accidental alcoholic. And that started the catalyst in the heart attack, you know, which eventually led to my life crime. You know, I really don't need, you've heard all that part. Now, the main thing I want to focus on is the Borden family. And, you know, I'm like Jeff, you know, Alfonso and David, we were both on the same yard. I've known Alfonso for like 7 years? 7 years in prison. You know, and it's like, the main thing is that life is supported. You know, we all get together and we help each other. You know, and the one thing to do with insight is, it's like a lot of people complicate it, but I really like Laura's formula. You know, and I simplify, insight to me is even simpler than that. For me, it's like, okay, this is my trigger. Okay, this triggers me up. I didn't get my shower. This triggers me. Okay, now I'm angry. Okay, anger, as everybody knows, that's just a masking feeling. It's masking something else. Okay, now I get past the anger and I gotta look at like, okay, the question I ask myself isn't the why, it goes, what does it give you? You know, what am I getting? You know, I'm acting this way, I'm getting all heated up. What's this feeling giving me? Where's it at in my body? I feel it in my head, my heart, my stomach. And then once I can identify through insight and through doing the inventories, the writing, the sharing, hey, I'm feeling this, Robert, you know what? Oh yeah, hey, I felt that too, you know, to get the piece of information. Now I can start processing. And I could start seeing like, okay, you know, that was a catalyst to this, was a catalyst to this, was a catalyst to this. And the main thing that I've seen in, you know, a lot of guys I've helped prepare for board is it gets down to once we're harmed in childhood, and Jeff touched on it, is once a child's traumatically injured, like he was, I was, okay, you shut down emotionally. Yeah. Whatever age that happens, you're dead emotionally. That's all a little kid can do. He doesn't have the coping skills to handle what happened to him. He can't deal with it. Shuts down. Wow. Now, that's where the walls start going up. Mm-hmm. Now, as that kid matures and ages, he's not maturing emotionally. He's becoming a man, he's learning this, but he's still got that little kid locked in a cage behind the walls. No sunlight is getting in there because sunlight hurts. The people that love you hurt you. That's all the little kid knows. You know, little 7-8-year-old kid, he doesn't know, hey, some people are bad, some people aren't. And that was with me. I just shut down emotionally, and I carried that up through the rest of my life, and that allowed me to lose my humanity. You know, and it's like, the only way I could look and see, the only way another human being can kill another human, I don't, screw the circumstance. Like I said, my guy was armed, he had the knife, it don't matter. The only way you can see another human life as non-human is you have to lose your humanity. That's, you know, and that allows me to see him. My body was right here. I had to walk out of the hotel room to go run. I looked right down at him like this. Looked at all the people in the hotel parking lot. Throw my gun away. I strolled. I'm ashamed of that. But at that time, I could see what that catalyst was, and I put 6 bullets in my victim. The catalyst to that is because I suppressed my feelings, I was an internalizer. I wasn't an external. I never blew up. I wasn't a yeller. I just sat over it. I just kept, okay. Well, I finally reached the point where I couldn't suppress anything. So, you know what? It all came out. It's a sad circumstance the way it came out. It cost another human being his life. You know, it was behind drugs. I was a drug dealer. I was a parasite of the community. I was feeding on society. I took from it what I wanted. I corrupted whoever I could corrupt. You know, and that's the part of the insight that Laura was talking about, and what that other lady was saying her son's looking at is that's the hard part for a man to look at. Because I got to look at and see that I truly was, I call it a scumbag. I was a true scumbag. You know, and I'm with the program, you know, and AANA, you know, I've been doing that for years, and I came up with terminology I use a lot is I just say, I looked at myself without the rose-colored glasses. I looked in the mirror and looked to the depths of what I was, and here's what I found out when I looked at it. I may have done that, been that, but that wasn't who I truly was. I'm a truly loving, caring human being. You know, and I just thank God that when I was finally able to surrender to the Lord, complete terms, not my terms, He blessed me. And here I am 8 years later with you guys. And one other thing I'm going to make this short for Robert. One other thing I want to tell you family members to be very careful of is you can end up hurting your life by one thing. And this was my own family experience. Okay, you want to send them like the papers on like what insight is and what all that stuff is, right? You know, you think, he didn't have ammunition. Well, here's what you guys can do. When he doesn't really have the clue on insight, and you've got a doctor's report you read, you guys go out there, you're comparing your notes, you're both living in a delusion of what true insight is. So as he's looking to love for you, you're on the street, hey, I read this book, this is what true insight is. You're actually could be harming him when he goes to board, because I had a cellie whose wife's a professor, and he was very intelligent. He read all the papers. Well, he went to board and pretty much said a few things she told him to say, and it turned out horrific. So really be careful on the advice and what you send them. You can help them by loving them, just like Alphonse. Love them, support them, get them to talk about it. But be very careful of feeding their delusion like, yeah, you're right. Because that can hurt them in board. On the board, they need the truth. And every mom, especially a mom and a son, a mom wants to protect her son. Mom doesn't want to hurt her son. A wife doesn't want to hurt her husband by, telling him the unvarnished truth. But that's what's needed when it comes to this board. That's the only way that true change is going to be effective. Yeah, it's going to hurt like hell to hear it, but it's also going to help me grow as a person. And one of my proudest moments in prison and all the work I did, besides becoming a Christian and all that, was when my mom in 2003 told me, you know what? You're no longer the person you were. Now that meant the world to me, because I finally felt, now my mom's proud of me. I'm not a disgrace or a parasite on the family. I'm the only one in my family who's been in trouble. Everyone else is straight. I just thank you, but really be careful with the information, and you want to help them and hold their hand, but you know what? When it comes to insight, remorse, and all that, they got to want to make that change. And I can only do it with Christ. With whatever Buddha is, whatever gets you through the change on any, that's here nor there, but they got to want it for themselves, and you can't give it to them as much as you want to love and support them. They've got to want that change themselves. And then once that happens, like Alfonso said, then the world opens up, just like that. The world opens up. Floodgates open up, and then the light comes in. Thank you for letting me share.